What's going on, everybody? It's Caleb1776, and today we're looking at a North Mountain Blades Chalk 2. I'm going to jump out of the gate and say this right off the bat. Sorry if I miss any information on this video. This is the second time I've had to make it. First one was corrupted for some reason, not sure why. But we're going to jump out and do our best. This knife was provided by BEDC, who I want to give a big thanks to BEDC and Derek for real. Without you guys, I wouldn't have this in my hands right now. So I really appreciate everything you guys did to help me out with this. And alright, let's get into the specs of this guy. It is flipper only, button, lock, a plunge lock. It is an Ultem, and it has the SLD Magic Blade with full length liners. A stainless steel non-reversible pocket clip with branding on it, which I know some of you are just going to dislike. That was kind of a tongue twister, sorry about that. I will say, branding on a pocket clip doesn't bother me as long as it's comfortable and does its job. I'm usually pretty happy. Granted, like I said, it is non-reversible. On a knife like this, with Ultem scales, a lot of the times that's how it's going to be. Ultem can crack easy with pieces that are threaded. So your screws for your clip, they're going to be threaded. Ultem isn't the biggest fan of threads going into it. One thing I've noticed with Ultem, working with it a lot, at least with the e-cig business, if you put Ultem doesn't mind threads as long as the Ultem itself is threaded. Like, I would make something called drip tips, and a lot of the times you would have to thread those, but big, chunky, simple threads to go into another piece of Ultem or even a piece of metal, as long as you've got some big chunky threads, it's usually alright. But little tiny threads, you can crack the Ultem or PEI, whatever you'd like to call it. So you got to be careful, and you can't use any thread adhesives because any solvent type stuff really messes with it. First it'll fog up and get all smoky looking, and then it'll turn to mush almost inside. But I will say one thing about this knife. I am in love with this backspacer. I think they did a great job. It's antiqued looking, and I really enjoy that. This is on cage ceramic ball bearing, so it's very smooth. I don't know if BEDC gave this a lot of use or not, but it has a very broken in type feeling already, which I enjoy a lot. There is some jimping on the back here. Let me see if I can get that to focus a little bit better. Not really. Let's try that again. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. I will say this about the jimping. It's not super aggressive, but if you dig in a little at first, it holds just fine. But if you're going to rest your finger on it, it just kind of feels like ridges, which is fine. I mean, I like to aggressively get into my jimping no matter what, whether the jimping is aggressive or not. I like to really get my finger to stick. Of course, this blade is that SLD Magic, which is a 3-layer steel. It gives it a great look. I mean, it's got that Tonto blade shape. Light kind of messed with it. It's fantastic. From what I've heard, SLD Magic is it's kind of like D2 and the hardness. This one is 60 to 61. North Mountain rates this at, which is fine for a pocket knife, for an everyday carry pocket knife. And toughness is going to be D2 as well, apparently. Besides that, this guy is 8 inches long overall, 4.5 inches closed, and with a blade length of 3.5 inches. I do not have a weight on this one, which I wish I did, and I do not have my scale with me where I'm at, so that's kind of a bummer. When I do the long-term review, I will make sure to have that. And I've also noticed something else. The one thing I can complain about with this is the lack of detent feel. It is very easy to fail. What I'm going to say is a lot of button locks are like that, though. It's kind of part of the game sometimes. That last knife I looked at was the Rosecraft Bofin. And I can say, actually I think I still have it over here. This does have a pretty stout detent feel for a button lock. So, I mean, it's not always that way, but with this guy it is. But there's a caveat. And the caveat is, I noticed while looking at where it locks up, which I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it on camera again. Oh, right here. I can hold that and get this to focus. Right there. There is a little burr in there. And with that burr, I feel like it's not letting that plunge lock delve deep into where it's supposed to go when it's in the closed position. And I feel like if I take care of that burr, it might give it a little bit more detent feel. Because like I said, it is, let's see if I can. All right, so like I said, it's not horrific. It's not like it's not there at all. There is something there. It's just, there could be a little bit more. But I think we're going to be able to make it better. Now, if you guys want me to do that on camera, I'm totally open to that. Just let me know in the comments down below, please. Because I'm very curious to see what you guys think. I really am. Because I can just take my rounded file to that, if that is a burr, which it certainly appears to be. It definitely is. I don't know if that'll come through on this side better. But with that, what looks to be a big burr, I feel like that's going to cause some issues. A little bit of filing away at it, you know, could take care of that issue. We'll see. I'm going to do it regardless, but am I going to do it on camera? You guys let me know. I like the weight of this knife. I wish I knew what it was off the top of my head, but I don't. I will say this knife is actually heavier than this knife. And I think that one was 4.5. So I'd say this is probably about 4.7, 4.75, somewhere around there. And of course, like I said, it is Ultem, so it does look light, and the liners are drilled for lightness. I kind of wish they wouldn't have did that. Just get to give it a little more heft. I like heft in a knife. I know some people don't. But I think this knife has amazing aesthetics. Like I said, the action is really good beside that lack of detent feel. This one does have blade wiggle. No, I have not checked that pivot because I'm a little nervous too, number one. But I did try to get in contact with North Mountain Blade to try to get another pair of scales for this guy, regardless. Whether I would be able to or not, we don't know yet. I would like to get another pair of Ultem scales. If I can't, I'll pick up anything. I do not have enough titanium to try to make titanium ones, I can tell you that, and I can't afford to do that right now, which that'd be really cool to make an all titanium one. Maybe hit it with some electrolyte and electricity. That'd be pretty cool. It'd be different. You know what I mean? I like different. But you tell me what you guys think of this. If you've had any experience with it, or with that, like I said, lack of detent feel. That's really the only negative I have, besides the jimping on the flipper itself. That's some lame duck jimping. Really lame duck jimping. Which is sad, because this knife is awesome. This knife feels so good in hand. Once you flip that blade and you have that knife, there's no hot spots. I don't know if it's like that in all versions. I would assume so, because they share a pretty similar shape. They didn't have to, you know, they didn't take down the edges on the Ultem at all, and it still feels amazing. And what a classic looking just profile in general. Even the profile of the spine, the way it comes down to that diamond tip, it's a little skinnier up here, and towards the jimping it gets thicker again. If I had to guess, that looks, does it have it on the website? It does not, but I'd say at least 3 millimeters. I'm enjoying this. Unfortunately, it is hard to find these in Ultem right now. they go between 80 and, from what I've seen, 120 for most of these. So they are, I would still put them in the budget category, but at the top of it, of course. I mean, and that could be different for everybody. You know, budget knife for you might be $50 and under. For this person, it might be 25 and under, or 30. For this guy, it might be 300 and under. I don't have that budget. I'm gonna let you know right off the top. Nope, not for me. But anything really under $130, I would consider a budget-friendly knife. And over 200, I'd put most of those knives in, for me, in Grail contention. Granted, a knife to me, the price doesn't dictate its Grailness, really. You could be looking at a $300 knife, and it could be as important to me as a $1,000 knife. It just all depends. But this is going to grace my pocket for a while. It really is. I thoroughly enjoy this knife, even with, like I said, its downfalls, which every knife has a downfall, at least one. And some stick out more than others too. I love a Tonto. That's one of my favorite blade shapes. Definitely top 2. I like Tontos. Modified sheep's foot, Warnies are up there. That being said, I don't hate any blade shape that I can think of off the top of my head. No, not that I can think of. You know what? There is some of those really like crazy looking Tontos with like the big belly up top. For me, that's just not for me. Would I still use one and review one like it's any other knife? Of course I would. I try to always give my thoughts, whether or not you agree. That's fine. That's why we tune into everybody, because everybody is supposed to have different views. But yeah, I really like this. I like the frag pattern they have cut into the Ultem. That's nice. I like the fact that the screws aren't T6. I believe they're all T8. I can check that though. Let's see. I could be putting my foot in my mouth right now, but there is a T6 on here. And these do not appear to be T6. They appear to be T8. Let's double check. Where's my T8? Looks like it's right here. Nope. Why are these in the wrong spot? That's a T7. And there's a T8. Okay. That was weird. Let's see. T8 hardware. How about for the clip? T8 for the pivot. T8. Oh, and look at that. That pivot is so loose. It's ridiculous. Just finger tight. And let's see if that helps. It's still nice and centered. It's not as drop shutty anymore, but let's see if it fixes that blade. No more wiggle, I will say that. That helped a bunch. That helped a bunch. And like I said, if I can take down that burr, I think that's going to help even more. But, oh yeah. Now with a little bit of pivot lube on there, I think we got a knockout right now. Which is, it's hard to try to review knives sometimes because you have these big expectations going in. And you don't want a knife to let you down just because of your expectations. And I think that's the hardest thing about reviewing a knife. The one knife I did get rid of was that SOCOM, and that was a grail to me. I was so excited to get that knife. Granted, it was before I started putting out videos, which now I wish I would have kept it just so I could have put a video on it and had your guys' thoughts and expertise and whatnot. And it's kind of a bummer. I wish I would have still had that knife. I don't get rid of my knives often. But, alright, those are my just, first impressions on that knife. We'll, in the next couple weeks, we'll stop back in, I'll carry it every day for the next week. That in the bowfin, granted 2 separate videos. And yeah, I'll let you know what I think in a week's time. Thank you guys for stopping in. Have a nice day. Oh, and if you could, try to share this video. We're very close to 200. I want to give somebody that Jimmy Crow knife. It's really cool. And yeah, so like, share, whatever you guys do. And any questions, comments, tips, suggestions, leave them in the comments below, or you can send me a message on Instagram. I think that's all. You guys have a great day.